$5 for a box of pancake mix, $6 for bouillon powder loaded with MSG. Y'all, grocery stores are robbing us blind and we're just letting them. But what if I told you that for a fraction of the cost, you can make your own just add water pantry mixes? And they're gonna taste better, be healthier, while still lasting for months in storage. Well, stick around because in this video, I'm gonna show you how to take back your pantry, your health, and your budget. And this video packs in a lot of your favorite dry mixes. Yep, these recipes include how to make your own chicken bouillon, pancake mix, banana bread mix, hamburger helper, rustic bread loaves, rice-a-roni, and maple cinnamon rolls. And remember, all that's in a jar. You're just going to be adding water to everything I just named. Now, let me be clear. I'm not trying to down convenience. Lord knows I need it. I'm just saying that dry mixes are some of the biggest scams in the grocery store. Y'all know there's nothing I love more than a from-scratch meal, but honey, I work full-time too. And about 3 to 4 nights a month, a whole different version of me shows up. It's the one that doesn't want to chop, saute, or even think about assembling a meal. So convenience, oh yeah, it totally has its place. But budget busting? Not anymore. So maybe like me, you need a plan for that tired, over it version of yourself and stop letting exhaustion wreck your grocery budget. So here's another reason to kick those prepackaged foods. The ingredients that they use rely on artificial preservatives, hydrogenated oils, and synthetic flavors. I mean, half of that stuff isn't even food. Yeah, many of those ingredients only exist to extend shelf life or cut production costs. And the problem is that they're linked to inflammation, gut health, and long-term metabolic concerns. Let's talk about that little cube of chicken bouillon, which is basically salt with an identity crisis. The first ingredient, salt. The second ingredient, MSG. And the third, some mystery chicken flavor, which has never actually met a chicken. But my homemade bouillon is real herbs, real flavor, and none of the science lab extras. So let's kick things off with this rich, savory chicken bouillon powder. There is no artificial junk and it is packed with nutrients. Okay, so first we're going to add nutritional yeast, which is a powerhouse ingredient. And this is what's going to add that incredible umami flavor without needing to add MSG. And one of the great things about nutritional yeast is that it is naturally high in your B vitamins and especially your B12. And that's what supports your brain health and your energy levels. So with many of your store-bought bouillons, many of those use artificial flavor enhancers, while nutritional yeast offers natural plant-based depth. Next, we're going to add a little bit of garlic and onion powder. And what's great is that both of these ingredients are loaded with antibacterial and antimicrobial properties. And they both support your immune health and digestion. And what's nuts is that usually the flavors that I'm adding now, like the garlic and the onion, store-bought will say, oh, we're using natural flavors, which is just a vague term that can hide synthetic ingredients. So next up, we're going to add some turmeric, and we're adding this not just for the color, but for the health benefits. I am telling you, the older you get, the more you're going to love turmeric because it is one of the most studied anti-inflammatories in the world. And you know what? Most store-bought versions don't include it because it's expensive, and expensive compared to the budget that they want to spend. But adding it at home gives your broth added health benefits. And now we're going to add some herbes de Provence, which is a blend of thyme, rosemary, and basil. And this not only elevates the flavor, but it also contains lots of antioxidants that improve your heart health. And so a lot of times what happens is that stores will just rely on salt and artificial flavoring instead of actually using real herbs. And now I'm just going to add a pinch of pepper and a little bit of Redmond sea salt. I mean, truly just a pinch. Yep, that's it. And what I love, y'all, I was getting ready to grab my actual spatula that I'm using for my microphone. So you're just gonna go ahead then and blend everything together like so. Oh my word, it smells so delicious right now. I mean, you have the fragrances from the herbs and the turmeric. Oh my goodness, it's just lovely here. And truly, you can customize these herbs, which is exactly what you should do. So I've made this before, and when I have tons of rosemary out in the garden that I've dried, I would definitely have added a lot more of that, but I don't have too much of that on hand. But I mean, it's really whatever you want. You can add, you know, the herbs and spices that you prefer. So now I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of inulin powder, which is going to act a bit as a thickener, which will make our broth a little bit silkier. And this is what is going to replace the need for hydrogenated oils or maltodextrin like the store-bought versions use. So inulin is actually a prebiotic, and it's great for regulating your blood sugar. It's also tasteless. I mean, if you do taste anything, it's subtly sweet, but I mean, it doesn't impact the taste of food at all. Lots of people even prefer to put it in their coffee, almost like a bullet coffee. Again, it is tasteless, but it does add just like this silky kind of body to liquids or in baked goods. Darling, we are done. So you're just going to grab a jar. This is a canning jar, but it could be any jar that you have that has a lid. Like you could repurpose one from the grocery store. I've certainly done that before. And now we are just going to scoop everything into our jar. I'm just using a funnel so that I don't create a mess. All right, so this will store in a cool place out of direct light for at least 6 months. So I'm just putting a lid on it here. And then I'm a teacher, y'all, so I just happen to have stuff like this. But I like using these 3x5 labels, and they just stick straight to the jar. And if I'm using a jar just for dry goods, then this jar will kind of always contain some type of like dry ingredient, but it might switch out. So I like using these things. I will link them, but you can then just take regular 3x5 cards and you can slip them inside. And what I normally do is I will just have like the name of the item and then like how to prepare it, just written a little bit smaller under the label, or you could write it on the back if you want to, but I don't like moving things in and out. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead. Hold on. Let me get my sophisticated setup back. Boom. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and add this to the jar like so. And then we're going to label everything. All right, there we go. So I have here chicken bouillon powder, and then I've just written that you're going to mix 1 tablespoon of powder into 8 ounces, which is 1 cup of hot water. Okay, so these are the recipe cards that you are going to get. I designed them in Canva, and here's what I want to say. So I could have chosen like these beautiful designs with backgrounds, but I went with something that was plain because I just think it's practical. I'm one of those people that when I have to print things at home, I'm always worried about how much of my ink I'm going to need to use. And plus, if you find that you want to modify these recipes, you can just easily write on a white background and not even worry about it. So yeah, you can just cut and tuck these in your recipe box or binder. They are on the larger side, but I hope that you find these enjoyable. You can also find the full recipes on the coordinating blog post, but if you like recipe cards, then you'll definitely enjoy these. These are free. If you already get the grocery guide, then I've already emailed these to you. But if you're not getting the grocery guides, there is a link in the description box or in the pinned comment. Come close for this one, sweetheart. I hate to break it to you, but Betty Crocker is gaslighting you. She really must think we're all fools. Because you open that box expecting a meal, and what do you get? Well, let me show you. Now, I got this box of Hamburger Helper for demonstration purposes only. This was nearly $2. I think it was like $1.85 for 6.6 ounces. Let's see what we get. Oh my gosh. This is a cup. 1 cup? Do you see this? Here's. Okay. A cup and a half, maybe. And I'm being generous. Is that everything? Almost. So this is what you get. This is Hamburger Helper. A sad handful of noodles, and a whisper of cheese dust. But then when you read the recipe, look up here. You are still expected to bring your own milk, meat, and butter, like you're some kind of unpaid kitchen intern. Oh no, ma'am. Hamburger helper, more like hamburger hustler. But I do like the concept, and the end result is a classic comfort dish. But better yet, my homemade recipe gives you all the good ingredients without the junk. Let me tell you, this homemade hamburger helper mix is creamy, cheesy, and so easy. Okay, so for this hamburger helper recipe, we are gonna start with 6 cups, which will be like 2 dinners with some leftovers for me and my husband. Yeah. 3. So I'm actually mixing these noodles, and I will tell you that you should not be afraid to do that. So if you have some elbow macaroni noodles and some, oh my goodness, what are they called? They're like cup to volley noodles or whatever else. Like, go ahead, and this is the recipe where you should just combine whatever kind of noodles you have on hand. So these are a very high fiber noodle. They essentially are like lower in carbs. And so I'm just gonna add those. So again, you can see that I'm using 2 different blends. It does not matter at the end of the day. Okay, so real talk, y'all. I love the Hosier Farm powdered cream cheese because the ingredients are impeccable. But when it comes to their cheddar cheese, I do like that it is actually still made from real dehydrated cheese. However, they are, I mean, you can see this, right? I cannot hide this from you. They do use food colors in here. So what is it in here? It's like yellow number 5 or number 40. That's in here. Sorry, yeah, yellow number 5 and number 6. And you want to stay away from that stuff as well. However, I will say that, like, I'm very, like, this is my actual kitchen. I do not put on airs here, okay? And so I do try, like, earnestly to do as much as we can towards, like, keeping the junk ingredients out of our kitchen. However, where I am at, like, at this point in time is like 80-20. And so there are things where I'm like, hey, I mean, you've seen all of the other kind of recipes. I would say I already have this. I'm not buying something, you know, extra. And I actually do have a trip coming up and some hiking, and so I do want to have this like on hand. I don't like that it has food dyes, but this does blend very creamy. The flavor is great, and we eat this kind of food in moderation, right? Like, I'm not eating this every single week. This truly is, you know, this batch will last us a couple of months. So we're gonna go ahead and add some of your powdered cheddar cheese. But then to make things like super creamy and to cut back on the amount of the food dyes that we use with the other stuff, I'm using a very hefty amount of the cream cheese. So we're gonna add that in there. Then I'm going to scoop in some of our freeze-dried onions. Yeah, see, Betty Crocker ain't giving you that. And next, to make this creamy, we're still gonna add some of our buttermilk. And then as our thickening agent, we're going to add a little bit of cornstarch. I'm gonna go ahead and add some smoked paprika, just a pinch. I'm gonna scoop in a little bit of our chicken bouillon. So this is a way for me to sneak in some of that nutritional yeast. So this recipe also works well with ground mustard. So I'm gonna add some of that, and we're gonna do a bit of pepper, and then just a little bit of salt. And y'all, that's it. That's hamburger helper, right? I'm gonna give this a really good shake. And now all I have to add is a bit of butter, maybe, and my ground meat. first time meeting, hi, I'm Cassandra from the blog becomingafarmgirl.com, and I'm here to show you how to cook with what's on sale, in season, and better yet, already on your shelf. Don't forget that this video comes with a coordinating blog post as well as downloadable recipe cards. Pre-packaged bread mixes? Oh, they especially pluck my nerves. They charge you triple for basic ingredients, throw in some artificial bread softeners, and then expect you to do all the work anyways. If I have to add water, knead, and wait for it to rise, I better be getting bakery quality results, which is why I'm so glad that my homemade bread mix actually delivers with zero nonsense and pure wholesome ingredients. So this recipe is starting with 3.5 cups of bread flour, and you do not have to be super precise. And to this, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of powdered buttermilk, which will just add to the texture and flavor of our bread. Then we're also going to add about a tablespoon of maple sugar, which just makes the bread slightly sweet. You don't have to add this. A pinch of salt, and that's it. How about them apples? Boxed pancake mix wants you to believe that it's a breakfast shortcut, but let's be real, it's a ripoff in a box. Because it's more like paying extra for someone to pre-measure your flour, except they also sneak in additives and cheap fillers while they're at it. Most pancake mixes are just refined and bleached flour with aluminum-based baking powder, hydrogenated oils, and artificial stabilizers to keep those mixes shelf-stable for years. Some even contain sodium aluminum phosphate, which has been linked to neurotoxicity and inflammation. But my homemade mix, it's fluffy, it's golden, and it's made with ingredients that you actually want in your body. Okay, so don't mind this jar. This is my pancake jar. It's empty, as you can see, which is the point of me making this video, because these are actually recipes that I use. And so for this, I'm going to do a healthier variation of a pancake mix, but I do have in the recipe cards that are attached to this video, I share both. So if you're looking for just like your all-purpose flour that's pretty basic, you're going to get that base recipe, but then you'll also get this modified kind of. Hey, it's Editing Cassandra here, and I needed to pop in because in this video I was trying something new, and that is using a microphone. And I didn't realize, well, now I do on like post-production, that my mic dropped periodically throughout some of these recipes. So you are going to see me now or hear me just like dubbing over. I am so sorry about that. I'll get better as time goes on. Now I'm using sprouted wheat flour as an alternative to all-purpose flour. Now your sprouted flours are easier to digest, and here's why I like to just make sure that we're getting extra fiber. And I'm going to mix in spelt flour, which offers a different profile of amino acids, vitamins, and minerals than wheat. Okay, so I wanted to add some wheat bran, so I'm going to add like a half a cup of that to this recipe. And I'm also going to add some ground flax seeds just to go ahead and sneak in some healthy omega-3s. So next up, we're going to add some cultured buttermilk, and this is what truly makes this a just add water recipe. And I am telling you, I truly love making my own mixes, precisely because I get to add so many of these other health ingredients that when you think about, I mean, there's no way that you can get all of your nutritional needs like from vitamins or even what you eat in a day unless you're intentional about sourcing and putting together ingredients like this. And so yeah, now we're going to go ahead and add our buttermilk here to the mix. Again, we're going to add a little bit of our powdered vanilla here and a little bit of our maple sugar. Now, what I especially love about using powdered maple sugar is that it provides a depth of flavor that the artificial maple sugar flavors just can't touch. We're gonna add some of our baking powder. Next, we're gonna use a tablespoon of powdered eggs. Now, these are just some eggs that I've had from Thrive Market. I do have a freeze dryer. However, most of the year I'm able to source fresh eggs and I freeze my eggs, but I do like having powdered eggs on hand for, recipes just like this. And with these eggs, which I think any brand of powdered eggs will do, it means that you don't have to crack anything in the morning. You are truly just adding water. And the combination of the buttermilk and the powdered eggs is what's going to keep your pancake mix nice and fluffy. Gonna add a pinch of salt, and y'all, that's it. Now here is the fun part. We can just put it here in this container, and you're just gonna shake things up really good. Should not require an emotional support system to open the can. That pressurized dough grenade will have you flinching every time, only to deliver cinnamon rolls that taste like sweetened cardboard with a side of regret. Meanwhile, my homemade mix is stress-free, fluffier, and actually tastes like real cinnamon and butter because it is. So these rolls start off with sprouted spelt flour, which is an ancient grain, and it has more fiber and nutrients than traditional flours. And if you're curious about the sprouted part, it just helps to pre-digest some of the starches, and it just makes it easier to absorb some of the vitamins and the minerals. And to this, we're just gonna add some dehydrated maple sugar. And so with using dehydrated maple sugar, you're still going to get all the antioxidants as well as minerals like manganese and zinc. And that's unlike the refined white sugar that you're going to find in most of your box mixes. Next, we're going to use some aluminum-free baking powder. And if you've ever made baked goods and you can taste the baking powder, you're probably not using aluminum-free. And so this just gives you those baking properties, but without that metallic taste. Pinch of sea salt, and then a pinch of baking soda. Now let's just give this a good little mix before we transfer it to a jar. So this recipe really is all in one. So now you're seeing me measure out the filling. So we're just going to have some brown sugar and combine it with some Ceylon cinnamon, which also adds extra health benefits. We're going to roll this up and then tuck that straight in the bag. Okay, so now we're making the icing mix. So we're going to take a cup of the powdered sugar and place that in a bag. Now, I especially love a creamy cream cheese based icing, and that's exactly what you're going to get with this recipe. So we're going to use this Hoosier Hill Farms cream cheese powder. Yeah, it's a thing. And the ingredients on this are really good. Look, it's made from cream cheese, pasteurized milk and cream cheese culture, salt, and carrot bean gum, non-fat dry milk. That's it. Those are the only ingredients in this. And I'm going to show you in a bit when we go to make these cinnamon rolls. My mic cut out again, but just how creamy this icing comes out. I mean, and it smells just delicious. All right, so we've measured out our cream cheese. We're going to add that. So an ingredient where a little bit goes a long way is by having powdered sugar on your shelf. I mean, this is excellent. It's so versatile for things like muffins, rolls, pastries, icings, or any other kind of sweet treats where, again, I really like to just make my own and have them ready in a jar, ready to go. That way I'm avoiding the markup. But yeah, here's what it looks like. Again, you only really need just a little bit. And so we are going to add some of this vanilla powder to our icing. And we're just gonna go ahead and now stuff this in our jar as well. Add our lids. You can also just take the recipe cards that I'm sharing with you in this video, and you could slide them in here or even just tape them directly to the jar. That totally works. First this, most banana bread mixes are just a straight up lie. A lot of them promise real banana flavor, but the only real bananas is what's drawn on the box art. The actual mix is mostly sugar, artificial flavors, and preservatives that could outlive us all. My homemade mix is real bananas, real ingredients, and none of that fake nonsense. Real banana flavor comes from real bananas, so I'm just taking some dehydrated banana chips and pulsating them, and then this is what's going to add the banana flavor to our bread. Okay, so next we're gonna take some old-fashioned oats because we're gonna make some oat flour, which I hope you're not buying because this is all it is. It's just ground oats. All right. So most store-bought banana bread mixes use bleached flour, which strips nutrients and flavor. But at home, you can use all-purpose flour if you want that lighter texture, or you can add extra fiber if you're using something like whole wheat. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use my sprouted whole wheat flour, which again, nutritionally, sprouted versus not sprouted is the same. It just has extra benefits of it being more easily digested. All right, and then we're going to add about a half cup of oat flour, maybe a little bit more. And the great thing about oat flour is that it adds to the structure and the softness. And oat flour is really rich in beta glucans, and it helps to regulate blood sugar and is great for heart health. So next we're going to add some brown sugar, but you could do coconut sugar if you wanted to reduce a glucose spike. So now we're going to go ahead and add our banana chips, because remember, we are using real bananas for the flavor, not artificial ingredients. So next we're going to add some chopped walnuts, or you can also use chopped pecans. And this is going to add healthy fats and protein. So next we're going to go ahead and add our powdered milk. This is our cultured buttermilk. And so this is going to reduce our need or eliminate our need for using fresh milk. Now, store-bought mixes will often use non-fat milk with additives, but our mix doesn't include any of those. And you really want to make sure that you're just shaking things down in the jar because we still have plenty of room here. Next, we're going to add our baking powder and our baking soda. And to that, we're going to add a little bit of ground cinnamon and a pinch of nutmeg. All right, let's go ahead and add our lid and our label. Perfect. Alright, so next up is rice-a-roni, and it wants you to believe that it's some type of luxurious side dish, but let's be honest, it's just overpriced rice with a flashy marketing budget. And for what? A handful of pasta bits and enough sodium to make a camel thirsty? Meanwhile, my homemade mix is faster, cheaper, and actually tastes like real food. Alright, so for this rice-a-roni recipe, you're going to start off with the rice of your choice, and I am just using some organic quick cook white rice that I got from Aldi. You can use jasmine, basmati, brown rice. I mean, it really doesn't matter, but we're gonna go ahead and add 2 cups of that to our jar. I think I said 2, I meant 3, so we have this much rice in our jar. Okay, and then next you're just going to add some angel hair pasta. I mean, you could use the regular size as well, but we're just gonna take that, and it's really like, it's how much you want, right? So I actually like a hefty amount of pasta in mine, which if you're stuck buying it from the store, you know, you always get the proportions that they want you to have. So I'm going to take, I'm going to take about this much. Now on your recipe card, I don't use this heavy of quantity, but again, you can totally adjust how much pasta you want to add. All right, you're just going to break your pasta. If you have kids, you should have them do this because they're going to love this part. I mean, adults too, for sure. Okay, so after you have your broken pasta, you're just going to go ahead and then I'm going to measure or just pour in my rice and combine all of that so you can just kind of see, you know, visually what you're working with. And if you want to add a little bit more pasta to things, oh yeah, that looks like the right ratio for me. Okay, so to this we're going to add about 5 tablespoons of chicken bouillon powder, which you already have. And as I shared earlier, don't you just love that you are able to add ingredients? I need to make sure that I like count this. Ingredients that you feel really good about. So you're not adding just like all of the junk stuff. Was that 3? Was that 3 or 4? I think that was 3. Let me stop talking. 4 and 5. Because as I said, nutritional yeast is just so healthy for you. And sometimes I would have a hard time kind of thinking about, well, how do I really fold it into what my family is eating? And it's by doing things like this. Oh, and it smells so good. Okay, now we're just gonna go ahead and herb it up. Okay, so this is where you can really start to customize things. And I am going to add things like parsley and onion powder and thyme. But you can add whatever spices you want. I definitely recommend adding smoked paprika, but I think by now you all know that I love adding smoked paprika or cayenne to almost like everything. I mean, you just gotta like shake till the spirit tells you to stop. All right, so we're gonna add some of that. We're also gonna add in some thyme after time. Then I think I'll add just a smidgen of pepper. And we're gonna add the last of my garlic powder. I think I have some more in my downstairs pantry, and a little bit of onion powder. Do you see this? Look, y'all, Rice-A-Roni, they ain't got nothing on me, okay? And I am making this at pennies to the dollar, you know? Like, it's just, have your spices handy for sure. But then after that, these are just pantry staples that you already have. You know, I'm just sitting here chatting with y'all on a Saturday afternoon, and I am stocking my pantry from ingredients that I already have so that when I go to the store, I'm not buying things that are just pre-measured in a box that have an exorbitant markup. And yeah, so this is awesome. So I actually like having diced onions in my rice-a-roni. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of these freeze-dried onions to the mix. And so when I go to cook this, I will have these onions that are already kind of in there. I mean, I love onions and garlic. You can't really overdo it. So I'm gonna add those. All right, let's go ahead and pour this back in the jar. All right, another one bites the dust. Let's go ahead and get this label on here. Beautiful, darling. All right, there we go. To get more recipe inspiration for your from scratch kitchen, click on the video on your screen. I'll see you in my kitchen or garden soon. Take care, friends.